Okay, why do you support Trump?
Because Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, Parker?
Do you think it's funny to say racist
How's that racist?
to take away and to strip away Michelle Obama's femininity as a black woman, specifically?
Yeah, to be fair, that's misogynoir, which I'm sure
Yes.
He was
wouldn't even
complimenting
understand
her.
that, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
That's
it was a
gross.
compliment because he was saying like she's like overcome adversity and like she's hardworking like a man. That's what he said. It was a
I think
compliment.
it's super interesting that people hide behind like fake profile names and profile pictures and then criticize people.
I'm a real Josh Hokett lover.
Sure. Would you be willing to turn on your camera so we can actually critique your looks?
Wait,
No.
first, what was your birth year, by the way, Josh?
1984.
Ooh.
Did you hear Barack Obama's response to like that and what Trump had been saying?
No, I didn't. Or wait, actually, it was I like to talk to people in person.
Yeah,
Is it
and
something
then
like that?
also basically said Trump doesn't say that stuff in his face, and he wouldn't say it in his face.
It's true. He wouldn't. He wouldn't. So, Smack, what were you saying, bud?
I'll just say this. I don't agree with what that last guest said about Michelle Obama, nor do I agree whenever they called Melania a sex worker. So it goes both ways, just to be clear.
I
Okay.
think the difference between those two, in which no one, like anyone saying that she's a quote unquote sex worker, I mean, there's no evidence of that. She has done like explicit pictures. So, I mean, I think that's where people are drawing that line from. But I think there's a huge difference between, well, you know what? No, I'll give it to you. There's a pretty similar parallel between like misogyny and misogynoir. So, you got it.
I don't think it's fair you do it either way. I don't.
You got it.
I don't care if it's skin color. I don't care if it's misogynistic. I don't care if it's hurting. Like they're the leader of the country. You show them some respect. But just my opinion.
Okay, so like, what was the point you were making prior to you getting a misinformation flag?
I think we were talking about racism.
You're like far from your
You were
mic. It's
gonna-
kind of hard to hear you.
You were going to give me an example of how Trump is racist.
Oh yeah. For example, he said specifically, or he popularized the birther movement, saying that Barack Obama was born in Kenya with a birth certificate of him born in the United States. We can point to the fact that he didn't rent to black people in the 1970s explicitly because they're black, and would particularly put on the applications of non-white individuals the letter C to mark for individuals who are non-white so that they would not rent to them. We can point to the Central Park Five, where he called for the even though they were exonerated based upon DNA evidence. We can point to the fact that he said that Kamala Harris turned black. We can point to the fact that he said that Haitian immigrants were coming to the country eating cats and dogs because he saw a video of a woman from Canton, Ohio, who's going through a mental breakdown, who's literally a U.S. citizen, and then assumed that they're Haitian because they're black.
You have 80 years of this man's life that's been on camera, and you're crucifying him for all 80 years. But I can also show you things that he's done great for the black community.
Name it.
Actually, I don't have anything right now.
This is not.
Wow,
Also,
you
you know-
conceded that immediately.
I just don't have anything.
You know, something that you can add to the list is the Supreme Court ruling today that allows him to cancel TPS for Haitian and Syrian migrants, and that overwhelmingly affects black and brown people, and they're adamant about getting them out of the country, while at the same time they reduced the amount of refugees that could come into the country down to 7,500, but then increased it, I think it was like another 6,500, and to let 95% white South Africans come into the country. They're specifically
Santana, quick
reducing
comment
the
there.
amount. I'm almost done my sentence. They're specifically reducing the amount of refugees that can come into the country, while exclusively letting white South Africans come into the country.
You said migrants. You mean illegal immigrants, or do you mean immigrants?
Refugees. That's quote unquote legal.
Are they here legally here? They're legally here?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Everything
didn't
that
hear
I was
about
talking about was legal status. Yes.
Well, some people like to conflate the difference between immigrants and illegal immigrant. There's a complete difference. We totally support immigrants.
That's why
don't
I
support
talked
illegal
about
immigrants.
TPS status and refugees. Those are legal.
Okay, well, I'll have to look into that claim. I just know that it's very easy that people mix up those two terms. Trump makes it clear we support immigrants, we don't support illegal immigrants or undocumented people.
He's reduced legal entry. That's what I named that. He reduced it. The refugees under the Biden administration was 175,000, and Trump reduced it to 75,000.
Okay, was there a reason for that, or did he just do it because he wanted to be racist?
He didn't want. They want to reduce legal immigration into the country. This was actually a part of Agenda 47. It's not just about quote unquote illegal. It's about immigration. Period.
It's not racist. Reducing immigration into the country is not racist. You're quantifying who you're letting in your country. Now, if there's a particular race that he's doing it to, yeah, that's racist.
I didn't say reducing immigration was racist. I just told you what he was doing as far as reducing immigration. Now, what is racist is reducing who can come in, specifically allowing only white South Africans to come in at the majority.
Well, I think we allow people from Mexico to come in under the circumstances that they're applying for some sort of they're what's it called whenever you're running for your country because you have an asylum ship.
No,
Well,
they just ruled that he can turn away people for asylum seeking as well. Like the Supreme Court just ruled that as well.
That doesn't mean you still can't claim asylum and get here. It means that he can turn them away if your case is not valid. In particular,
nope, that's not what that case says.
So then he can turn away he's turning away every asylum.
The Supreme Court ruled that. And let me pull this up. It wasn't about.
They ruled about
like
metering. Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
They ruled
Matt.
about metering. They ruled about metering. So they clarified what it means to arrive at the border, saying that you have to physically cross into the United States in order to count for the asylum, meaning that anyone who is at the border or still in Mexico, basically, they do not count for that claim. So that's what they actually said, which is what Trump was trying to do. He was trying to say you have to actually be in the United States in order to get the asylum claim, whereas before we allowed anyone who's at the border to be able to say it. So that's what was clarified.
I think that's fair. I don't care if you're coming from Canada or if you're coming from France or if you're coming from Mexico. You should be in the country before you can claim asylum.
How can you get to the country if when you get to the border, you're not allowed in order to actually say that you have an asylum claim? Because now you have to be in the country, but now they're saying you can't be in the country when you're at the border.
Well,
So how can that? So the whole point is to make it so convoluted that you have to get in almost by like.
It prevents you from crossing the border illegally. If you actually go to the port of entry and you say, "Hey, I am in America."
No, that's not what they just said.
Hold on. Give me a second. Let me finish.
No,
it prevents people from coming into America
No, you're simply
illegally.
Mac, you're simply wrong. You did not read the opinion.
If you come into America illegally, you can then claim asylum and stay here. You now need to go to a port of entry.
You're wrong. You didn't read the opinion from today. The court said that you have to be in the United States. A port of entry does not count. That's called metering. And they said that you can have metering and you have to be arrive at, meaning in the United States.
I'm not sure a port of entry isn't considered in the United States.
It's not. That's what they were clarifying.
Also, to claim asylum, you don't actually have to go through a port of entry. You don't even have to come in legally to actually claim asylum. So you're just wrong, like with everything you were saying.
No, I agree with you. You don't have to come into the port of entry. That's a problem with allowing people to claim asylum without having to go through the port of entry. It's because you're doing it illegally. You cross the border illegally, and then we catch you, and then you say, "Oh, asylum." That's the problem.
I think you're missing the point, Smack. This is going to turn away people that are quote unquote doing it the right way. Like literally the people that you're saying that you want to do it the right way. This is going to stop them. Not people that are coming across the border undocumented or finding other ways into the country. They're still getting in, but the people who are being stopped at the border and not allowed in to claim asylum, that's where it's going to slow it down. Like literally the people that you've been talking about that you said he believes in legal immigration, like all of these things that he's done has negatively affected people who are trying to come into the country, quote unquote, legally.
I think it slowed it down, which helps America because we don't know who we have in America and who we don't have. We had an administration who let between 10 million to 20 million people in. It makes sense. True. It makes sense that you're going to slow that down.
Yeah, it was 3.5 million people. I don't know where you got that number from, sir. Where'd you get that number from? Think of the galaxy.
Isn't that in the immigration?
What was your source?
Dave Rubin.
Yeah, I will say I didn't look it up.
That was probably the source.
Can you point me to your source?
Yeah, Pew Research.
Peer research?
Mm-hmm.
Pew.
Isn't there an eyesight?
What?
You mean CBP? You're talking about CBP.
CBP, where you can tell how many people came into America under the two different administrations?
That would be the encounters, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, encounters are different than who came into America. Encounters are who we caught. Who came into America are people we can't quantify.
Encounters are not who we caught.
If we caught you, that's a number. If we didn't catch you...
Smack, encounters are not who we caught. That's not what an encounter is.
What's an encounter?
Encounter is any type of interaction at the border. An encounter could actually be someone coming into the border legally, someone that lives in Mexico but works in the U.S. That's considered an encounter.
Okay, so then let me ask you, how do we quantify the people that weren't encountered that came into America under Biden?
That weren't encounters, that
Yeah.
weren't supposed to be in a, that's gotaways. They count them as gotaways.
So we know how many people got away, or we have a good idea of it.
Yeah, they have an estimate of gotaways.
What's that based on?
Actual proof that someone crossed, but they didn't actually detain them and they got into the country.
I live in Arizona, bro. How do you tell exactly how many people are being smuggled in through a car or a truck or across the border? How do you quantify
you
that
don't,
number?
and then that's why you go back
You
to
don't.
the that's why you go back to the Pew Research Center study that Parker cited that would actually give that information.
And how
Yeah,
does
for
Pew
the
Research
amount of
study know that
population
actual
increase.
data? Oh, that's if illegal immigrants put themselves in the census. That's if they self-report themselves. What if they don't self-report themselves? The fact is, you can't know exactly. That's the truth.
Okay. Well, the best known evidence is what we work off of. Unless you can give us something that's way more substantial than the 3.5 million that Parker cited, then we're actually more accepting of that number than anything else. So
I agree.
unless you have something that can actually quantify the number you gave, then we have to go with what we have. I can agree with you. It's not a perfect like assessment of how many people got into the country, but unless you have something that is more accurate, then we can't just go off a random number that you make up.
Yeah,
agree.
and my guess also is too that probably what Pew does is that they use the census numbers, but then they add in like random population sampling, and they basically then will use kind of like bootstrapping to then see how to best match the data with what they have, which is why probably they're the best outlet, because they combine both private data with the overall government data, which is what they're known for.
That's just really hard to tell, because I know when I get quantified in the census, I actually have to do certain things so that they can count me as a person. Now I'm thinking, if someone's illegal, undocumented, it makes sense that they won't report themselves, because why would they report themselves to the government? It gives them the ability to get
well,
reported.
I may be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that the census data technically is like kind of like separate from everything else, so they can't use census data to like go after you, which is why they asked the question to begin with, because they want to have an accurate count of the population. So they ask very sensitive questions, and theoretically, ICE or CBP or the government shouldn't have access to that data, because you wouldn't use it against your fellow citizens anyway, which is why we ask for the questions to begin with.
And while I may agree a lot with the Supreme Court, the one thing that they've been ruling on pretty successfully when it comes to like Donald Trump and his mass deportation effort is anytime the Trump administration is trying to actively engage in like sensitive information from like the IRS, or either showing up in courts to get people, the Supreme Court has ruled against Trump and not allowed him to do that. So I'm more willing to accept the fact that those people are being protected in those ways.
Just curious, what's your thoughts on the U.S. Postal Office wanting the voter rolls before you're going to be allowed to administer a ballot to voters?
Blatantly unconstitutional.
Yeah, they ruled against that as well.
No, well, one lower court did, yeah.
Oh, I thought the Supreme Court ruled on that today.
No,
okay.
This is a new rule that the UPS or USPS is trying to implement. It's clearly unconstitutional. The executive has no business in it, and neither does USPS. There is no statutory constitutional authority that gives the Postmaster General the ability to be able to make this rule. It is blatantly unconstitutional.
What makes it unconstitutional?
I just told you. I said there is no statutory or constitutional authority granted to the president or to the postmaster general to make this rule. Like, no one that I know of is saying that this is not going to be challenged. Okay, then where in statutes or where in the Constitution does it grant the president to do it?
Here's my position. The U.S. Postal Service governs mail. We do mail-in ballot. The U.S. Postal Service has every ability to make the law and the rule on how they govern mail. Now, if they want to ask for voter rolls from each state, that's fine. And you know what's funny about it? The only states that will not provide the voter rolls are the ones that are the swing states, and the states that take 2 weeks to count votes, like California, like Georgia. Absolutely.
That's not true. A
Which
multitude of states
state?
have actually rejected to submit their voter rolls, even some Republican-led states. You're
Which
just wrong.
states? Which states from Republicans decided not to give the voter
Give me a
roll?
second.
Because it's private voter roll information.
And by the way, the USPS gets its power from Congress, and nothing within the statute granting it their power says that they can go in and look at mail, that they can actually scan mail, and there's nothing in statute that says that they have governing power over elections, which is what this is doing. This is not simply saying we're going to verify. They are trying to control how states run the election, which runs right up against the Constitution.
They're trying to control the mail. They control the mail. They have every right to control the
They
way
don't
the mail is
control
remembered.
what's in the mail. They control, nor do they control how the states engage in the elections. The elections are above the statutory authority. The Constitution grants states the ultimate authority to run their elections. That is superseded by any USPS rule.
So that's the argument that they're going to lose. Watch, when it goes to the Supreme Court, they're going to lose the argument because the position from the federal government is going to be that the U.S. Postal Service determines how mail is distributed nationwide. And I'm not saying who's right or wrong. I'm saying that's the position they're going to take.
Yes, and they're going to
You're not
lose
right,
by 9-0 because, as I already said, the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, grants states the ultimate authority over the elections, and that supersedes anything from that branch. The president, and by extension, the postmaster general, has no authority over elections. Zero, none. The Constitution gives them none, which is why everything that Trump does on elections is blatantly unconstitutional,
But they
which
have
is
every
why he will
authority
lose.
over the mail-in ballots. They have every authority because they distribute.
They do
mail.
not have authority. They decide how it
they
gets from
choose
point
not
A
to
to
send
point.
your mail,
No,
that is their
no, they
right.
don't. They get to decide how it gets from point A to point B. But what is in it, how it's actually done, is governed by the states, and all they do is help facilitate it. They have no possible ruling, no possible constitutional authority to be able to check what is in the mail, nor they have any rule to be able to govern how the states operate.
I
It
don't
is
think they're
blatantly
trying to check what's in
unconstitutional.
the mail. I think they're trying to verify that your voter rolls match who you're sending your mail ballot to.
And you're not
They don't
understanding what
care.
I'm saying.
Hold
What
on,
I'm
hold on.
saying is,
Let me finish. I let you finish. Let me finish. They're trying to verify what voter rolls that the states are saying these are actual voters, and they're trying to verify what ballots are being sent out. They
But
don't
it's
care if
not
you
their
vote for
right to
Trump,
do
they're
that.
there.
The Constitution does not establish that they have the right
Yes,
to look
that's my
over
point, Smack.
that
Okay.
information. And
And I
honestly,
don't
like,
know the answer.
couldn't that information be used by authoritarians in like very, very harmful ways? Like they want to identify specifically what individuals of different states are Democrats so that they could specifically go after them.
I don't think it asks whether you're Republican or Democrat. I think it verifies that you're on the voter rolls that California is submitting to you. I don't think it gets to that granular.
So you think that they're not
I don't
looking
think it's-
for ideological framework at all?
I think
Which, or
they're
they
trying
get,
to-
you don't think
well,
that they get
let
that
me tell you
information at
this.
all?
Let me tell you this. I moved out of California 3 years ago. I moved to Arizona. I filed for a change of address with both California and with both Arizona. Arizona 3 months later started sending me ballots, started sending me information. My old house in California kept getting mail-in ballots. To this day, it gets ballots. That's a problem. They're
If
not
that is
doing the voter
true, I'm not
rolls.
saying it is, but if that is true, that's a state issue. Once again, you're sidelining the basic issue that the president and the executive branch has no constitutional authority to govern elections. Zero, none. There's only two. There's only two bodies that
every
do
right
it:
to govern
Congress
without
and the
mail-bound
states.
ballots.
Only those two. No, they don't. Which is why I'm and I'll bet you money that they will lose in court every single along the way, because as I said, it is blatantly unconstitutional, because there's not one iota, not one sentence, not one phrase in the Constitution that grants the president or any branch within the executive the power to governing how we conduct
I agree, but they
All base
control the
elections.
ballots. They
Wait.
control the ballots.
I want to throw this in, and not only does the Constitution not grant that power, like the states are literally fighting back. I said even red states. Just FYI, there's only been 16 states that have complied with the request of Trump, and of course, all 16 of them have been Republican-led states. 5 states are exempt, and 29 other states, along with DC, joined this lawsuit to stop Trump. So 29 of those other states, of course, are Republican-led states, including, I know one that popped out immediately was Idaho. Apparently Mississippi also has joined it as well. But yeah, actually now Tennessee is refusing to send updated voter rolls as well. So like literally, it's not just Democratic-led states. Like all the states are rejecting this because it goes against the Constitution in the sense of the states being able to dictate how voting is done.
Yes, which is exactly my point, because Santana was spot on. The reason why even Republicans are saying not to give over is because the Constitution grants ultimate authority to the states, which is why Donald Trump, on every single thing that he has done on trying to regulate an election, has been going to the courts, and he's lost every step of the way because it is blatantly unconstitutional. Like, I'm sorry, but like nobody in the law who knows the law says that this is valid. This is him trying to run around the Constitution, which is why it's going to fail. Because he's going to get sued, he's going to lose, and then he's going to like cry about it on like Truth Social. That's what's going to happen.
So Santana, I just want to get a little bit more granular with the data you just provided, because I did pull the data too, which sucks. Because every time I let someone else provide data, I don't have it in front of me to check you on. But I do have it here. So 16 states provided or committed to provide voter lists. Three states, provided publicly available versions of their voter list. So they provided
which is Mississippi. Wait, Mississippi?
Yeah,
no, that's something else. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Montana. It's Montana. Yeah, but you got to explain that when you're given data, because then when I fact check you, it makes it look like you're not really giving me all the information to cite. Okay, anyways.
Wait, how? Because I mean, like again, even if you're saying Montana's still one of the 30 states that signed on against the lawsuit.
Okay, so what I said was there are states that provided voter lists to the federal government. You said there's 16. That's not true. There's actually 3 extra states who provided publicly available versions of the voter list or instructions on how to obtain them. So they cooperated. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
but they
12.
still signed on to the lawsuit.
That may be true, but that's not what we're arguing. We're arguing who is now working with the federal government to give them the voter rolls.
Yeah, but you understand the private information that's listed as far as the states, the 16 that they gave was a voter registration list that includes driver license, social security numbers. Like they're not giving that additional information.
And I think that's fine. I think as long as you know who the person is and you know that they're an actual citizen and they're not dead or they didn't move out of state,
I think this is such a moot point. I'm not sure why you're like what point you're trying to get to now.
Yeah, wait. Do you care about democracy?
Absolutely. The point I'm making.
So then, why
is
do you
that
support a
open
guy
up
that
the
tried
ability
to?
for
So wait,
fraud if you don't
pause.
quantify the voters on your rolls.
Let me know when you're done.
Go ahead.
So why do you support a guy that tried to undermine our democracy?
By doing what?
Sending false slates of electors to the electoral college to cast Trump votes when he didn't win to try to steal the election, and inciting people to go to the Capitol, and then pardoning violent rioters who beat police officers and calling them patriots.
Well, so you're making broad statements there. There's actually people who are held accountable who committed crimes. So when you say he let everyone off the hook, that's a lie. The people who actually hurt people or committed violent crimes were held accountable.
They got pardoned as well.
They were pardoned.
Everyone was pardoned.
DJ Rodriguez is the greatest example of that. Yes, it was a blanket pardon.
Dude, my camera's just dying at this point. It's because I've already recorded stuff earlier, and it's at the point where like even it's just too hot where it's like gonna keep dying. I literally have my fan on. So typically it doesn't happen when I turn my fan on, but there's nothing I can do here. I might just like answer questions and call it for tonight. Here, I'll let you guys say something real quick. I'm gonna go turn my AC. That might help.
I was just gonna say Smack isn't making that great of a point. I would like to say, Caitlin, thank you so much for the 2. I'll let them know for sure. And also Kevin, thank you so much for the 1. I'm glad that you like the stuff. It's always with the Pola. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. Anyway, Smacks, I think like the point that you're trying to get to, it doesn't really seem like. I'm not exactly sure. Like, do you believe in states' rights or not? Like, what are we doing? It just feels like you're simping for Trump. Like, either you believe in the Constitution or you don't. You believe in states' rights or you don't. I'm so confused.
I'm a critical thinker. Like I told you before, I moved out of California.
I can't talk to these people anymore. No, dude, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be honest with you. At this point, you are fucking stupid. Okay? If you still think
you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, I can go through this.
White liberal.
Yeah, you care about the democracy.
Stop stuttering, you and your freaking friend below.
Okay, you're just gonna go use slurs now. Go fuck yourself.
Gross piece of shit.
Was that towards me or to Santana?
he gets really angry at me simply just because I'm gonna tell him I'm done with this shit. He's an idiot because he literally, if he supposedly cares about our democracy, he wouldn't be so willing to overlook things like this. right? That like they're fundamentally undermining our democracy by trying to literally go after the very basis for our voting process in the first place, the trust we have in our voting process. He gets 70% of the Republican Party to believe the election was stolen with no evidence. Pardon violent rioters who beat police officers, call them patriots, and this guy's going to run defense on those points? I'm sorry. Even from your side, you should be able to condemn that. It's absurd.
I want to call out the fact that like that's what they do, and this entire time, I mean, he came up whining and complaining, saying, "Oh, Santana, you're a race baiter," and all this other weird. But then after going through an entire debate, getting disproved, and then realizing that he had nothing, he reverted to like slurs and being the lowest form of what they always show themselves to be. It's like insane.
It is so absurd, dude.
Rough.
So
Anyway,
absurd. That is it
appreciate
for
you
my
having me
debates
up.
for today. I
Yeah,
can't do
thanks.
anymore. I've hit
Oh,
my
Yeah,
edge.
all good.